We think there's a secret to living a life that is deeply rooted, and we can help you do that today. This is a conversation we've been having for a while, and we can't wait to have it with you. Welcome to The Honest Path with Jim and John. I'm Jim, and he's John, and we care a ton about men and the issues we're facing in our culture today. We're grateful that there appears to be a growing movement advocating for men and helping men figure it out. And we just want to be a part of that. So thanks for being a part of this with us.
Yeah, really couldn't be more grateful that you're here for your time. This week, we're really excited about this conversation. It's rooted. We tried to find the word for this. When we say a rooted life, we mean largely a communal life in ways that we have embraced as modern America, a non-rooted world as the standard. How we come into a world and we're taught most often not explicitly but implicitly by action. We look around and we see these are the things you should do. This is what success looks like. This is what virtue looks like. And they are things that are very modern
Mm-hmm.
and that would look very, very weird to most of human history.
Mm-hmm.
And so rootedness is in a lot of ways retrievalism, kind of ways of the past. And we're really excited about it. Just to bring it down right off the top, so you know what we're talking about. It's things like, what does retirement planning look like when you're thinking of your community and your kids, as opposed to going and partying in your retirement? What does mobility look like? Should you be moving as often as Americans are moving and disrupting community and families? Things like that.
Yeah, values for creating wealth. What does success look like? What's the meaning
Mm-hmm.
of money? Whether how important is community, etc. There's a word that we're trying to figure out here because the word we've been using is an embodied life versus a disembodied life. Now, I can understand a disembodied life really easily. Like if I'm detached from everything, I'm disembodied. And an embodied life is one where I have deep attachment to ultimate meaning, to community, to relationships, to values. And so maybe we should just use that word, John, and
No, because
define that word.
embodiment, like think of this is the like Jesus is the embodiment of God.
Mm.
This steak is the embodiment of all steak. This is the steak.
That's the ones I make.
Yeah, I bet. So it's maximum potential. We're not talking about self-actualization and maximum
No, we're
potential.
not. You're right. So rooted is probably the best word. Another word would be integrated, that
Mhm.
our life is integrated with meaning from all kinds instead of compartmentalized or detached. So hopefully that frames it up for you. So John, we're going to do 4 quarters. We've kind of made that our show format where we do 4 quarters and walk you through 4 significant conversations. And so, John, tee up the 4 quarters for us.
Our 4 quarters this week are going to be first naming our current reality, the water we swim in, kind of realizing the things we believe, whether they're true or not, but
Mm-hmm.
but by default. Quarter two, the high price of uprootedness, speaks for itself. Three, reimagining the good life. What are those things that we should be aiming for? And quarter four, actionable shifts to get started. So bringing that really down into your day, today, this week. What are things you can do to pursue this?
Yeah. Now, if we have not set the hook very well, stick around because uh, while this concept takes a minute to get your arms around, the implications of it and the way it navigates into all corners of your life is actually very, very thought provoking and provocative. So
Oh,
we want you to stick around because we really do believe there's some gold in our heels that can help us live a more meaningful life and start climbing out of the stuckness that we've been into for a long time.
it's
So,
going to be great.
yeah.
Yeah, first, instead of our rotating thing this week for breaking the ice, today in the spirit of rootedness,
Hmm.
we're just going to describe, Dad, you first. Tell me about your grandmother's house when you were a kid. Tell me about
Well,
what that was like.
yeah, I had two kind of crazy grandmas. And so I'm going to talk about the one I really enjoyed the most, Annie Mae Bursby. And she lived at the time I really enjoyed my childhood. I would say like from 10 to 15 years old.
Hmm.
She lived in a double wide on 5 acres in Wiley, Texas. She was kind of outskirts of Wiley. Wiley now is a big suburb, but she lived on a dirt road, and there was a lake that we could ride bikes to from her house. She had animals come around. I remember there was these two peacocks that kept coming around her place. We would blow up stuff. We would ride go karts. We would ride mini bikes. She fed us whatever we wanted to eat. And there was a dilapidated house about a mile down this dirt road that rumor had it that Bonnie and Clyde had lived there during their bank robbing days. So we would go there
Wow.
looking for little clues of Bonnie and Clyde. Uh, but just a house of great adventure and very few rules.
That sounds like a blast. And the town's called Wiley of all places. That's
Yeah.
like the setting of like a young adult, I don't know, like
Ah,
a Super 8 kind of story, like
yeah.
a ET kind of story.
They were the Wiley Pirates.
That's yeah, I bet they were. That's hilarious. When I think of, two grandmas, of course, and they both lived in a lot of houses. When I think of grandma's house,
Hmm.
the titular grandma's house,
Yeah.
I think of your mom's house, Grandma Pat, and she is one specifically because I only really remember the one.
Hmm.
And we would go every year, at least once. We used to go down to Grandma's house
Hmm.
and your brother's house for Thanksgiving or this Father's Day family reunion. Sometimes
Yeah.
both.
Sometimes 4th of July.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
So, but the the grandma's house I remember is one. It was very scary because I was a scared young kid, and there was where I would sleep was on the couch across from the attic access. So I
Hmm.
would always have a hard time sleeping, imagining that attic door just
Yeah.
creeping
That
open and
homeless guy that always lives in the attic is going to come out and
hmm
get you. Yeah.
hmm But I remember the smell of it. Grandma was is a smoker,
Not anymore.
and no, really
No, no more smoking.
great
It's
for her.
amazing what getting scared to die will do to you.
Yeah, yeah, true. Well, she was at the time, and but also she had a dog named Pepper, and her house kind of smelled like peppermint a lot. It was like it
Mm,
was cigarette smoke, peppermint, and it was not an unpleasant smell. For me, it's a very nostalgic smell.
mm.
And I've always loved dogs. I loved little Pepper. He lived for a
Yeah.
long time too,
Yeah.
and she had a lot of dogs. She had this big plot with crab apple trees, which growing up in Colorado, I hadn't seen any
Yeah.
that I could remember. So they're really funny, otherworldly looking things. I'd go around and play with those or horse apples. I forget what they're called.
Horse apples. Yeah. Yeah. That's what we called them, horse apples.
Yeah. So
She had
other
two
thing I remember is
acres,
the
really kind of a flat piece of property in
yeah,
Elmo, Texas. That was the name of the town. Elmo, Texas. That's better
Elmo,
than Wiley.
Texas. Yeah.
Yeah. Elmo? Are you kidding me?
I like the name Wiley a lot more, but
Oh, okay.
Elmo, I just think of the Sesame Street character.
Exactly. I'm living with Elmo.
But I loved it. There's so for our conversation, what this is talking about is no one's grandparents' house is still in the family in modern America. There, you can't go home
Mm,
ever again. You go to that house, someone else is living there, you're just going to get sad. The vision, the ideal we're talking about is that wasn't always the case. It used to be that your grandmother's house was maybe her grandmother's house, and maybe it's your house right now, and
yeah.
maybe your parents live there with you, and you help to take care of them.
Yeah.
That's the kind of rootedness we're talking about.
Yeah. And at the very least, your parents grew up in that house.
Yeah,
Yeah. One of your parents grew up in that house as a kid. Yeah, so there was a lot more rootedness and there's a lot of virtue to that. So let's dive into the conversation. And quarter one, we want to talk about, what is this air we're breathing? What is, it's like two fish in the water, and one of them says, "Man, the water's really nice today," and the other one says, "What's water?"
yeah, I love
Because
that one.
you're just wrapped in it. So the big idea for this is that we can live differently uh, if we recognize the invisible assumptions that have been shaping our lives. I like the word catechism, John. I think that
Great word.
American culture tries to catechize us into a way to view the world, and it does morph with modernity as time passes. Different values rise to the surface, and so if all you know is the modern world, you have no comparison from history. And so what we want to propose here is that it's important to consider what are the values that I've been baptized in, and are those the values I really do want to choose?
Yeah, and the interesting thing here is that not all just because it's modern doesn't mean it's bad per se.
Yeah.
Democracy is a more or less modern thing. I know people say that the Greeks did it first, and they did, but as is today, it's a very modern thing, and I think it's a very good thing. Some things like separation of church and state that makes way for a lot of detoxifying of the church,
Yeah.
removing the temptation of power from the church. That does good things. That's very modern belief.
Yeah.
So really, it's just intentionally investigating and interrogating the claims you were born into, because everybody in every culture and time has been born into a place with assumptions, and a lot of them are good and a lot of them are bad.
So when you think about the assumptions that we've been, uh, pickled in, you've got independence is the highest virtue, that income should be maximized. Everybody should earn every possible dollar and accumulate as much wealth as possible. That moving upward, both geographically and socially, like you wouldn't stay. Warren Buffett still lives in the same house he's had. He's a billionaire, whatever, multi billion, but he still lives in the same little house in Omaha, Nebraska he's had for
Mm-hmm.
35 years. That's countercultural. Uh, that consumption is the way to your identity. The things that you enjoy, the things that you adventure, the things that you do, the things that you consume define you. Work hard now, live later. So, uh, work becomes a necessary evil so that one day you can retire and really live your life.
Mm-hmm.
And another one would be autonomy equals freedom. Like the free man, nobody tells me what to do. I'm my own person, and I get to do what I want. These are some. You think of any others, John, that are kind of scripted for us, um, that aren't on that list, but that you just would say, as you think about this. I remember when we had child number 3, 4, and 5. When
Mm-hmm.
we announced to people that we were pregnant again, they were like, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?" So the value was for small families so that you could flourish economically. We found almost no one who shared our value for a large family while we were having kids, including our parents.
Yeah, I bet. Which is funny because these days, maybe because of the population decline, but these days, like I think both of my parents, and my in-laws, would be thrilled if we had that many kids. It would be
Yeah.
a point of serious celebration, unless they were concerned we weren't going to be able to put food on the table or something like that.
And that was there, from the time we had our first pregnancy, all 5 times, Sue's dad said, those things are expensive, right? Like,
He would. For me, this is all about, this one is largely dependence or independence as a virtue,
yeah.
and dependence as a sin, not as even morally neutral, but dependence as a true wrong that you're doing to your fellow man.
Mm,
So if we are to talk about a interdependent culture,
mm.
where we are actually relying on each other to meet our needs, and this is a very Christian image, then we're actually talking about something that modern America not only ignores but demonizes. That would say that's irresponsible of you to do that. You should be able to meet your own needs.
Yeah. Shame on you that you need help, that somebody needs to contribute to your life.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, exactly.
Well, one of the things we want to say is that we want this to be a journey of curiosity, not attack, not defensiveness. We're not condemning modern life, we are examining it. So when you think about this, you think about, what did success look like in your home growing up? When your parents either celebrated their own success or advocated for you to be successful, what did they have in mind? And when did you first equate income with worth?
Mm,
And that wealthy people must be smarter people, better people, and poorer people must be less than. That gets communicated in our culture. Uh, and how many life decisions were made purely on the basis of what advances our economics farther. Those are the things that you grow up around. And now we would just encourage you to have a little curiosity about it. Was that a good thing? Was that the thing you want to choose for yourself?
yeah, and what I love about that is, again, not it's not your fault that you were born where you were. In fact, it's a great blessing if most of our listeners here, or all of them, are in America. That's no that's a very good thing. Looking at the span of human history, you kidding
Mm-hmm.
me? With how low our infant mortality is, which is
Yeah,
actually kind of high for a developed country, which is weird.
yeah,
But things like that, it's a great place to live.
yeah,
But those help you to not demonize yourself or your family. Only dig, only discern for yourself and find out, oh, that's not just the way things are. That's actually a stance. It has a name. We believe in the power of naming things.
Yeah.
So
So
you can,
yeah, go ahead.
well, only like the one I bring up a lot is transhumanism. I didn't know the transhumanism had a name, but modern America is a fervent believer in transhumanism, meaning you can swap out body parts. You can swap out. The idea that the mind, the soul, like all that John is my brain. And
Mm,
if we found a way to digitize that or remove my brain and put it somewhere else, there goes John, and this is just a, a meat puppet. So that's transhumanism. And I didn't know that when you name something like that, you realize it is a philosophy that a whole
mhm,
culture can believe in, but isn't
mhm.
necessarily true.
Yeah. So two things. One, we do have an international listener, John. Tim, my best man in my wedding, is in Curacao, one of my
Mm,
favorite places in the world. Curaçao's a little island, 40 miles off the coast of Venezuela. He's a missionary there. So, way to go, Tim. Uh, Glad that you're in the tribe. The second thing is that um, we go through life with these assumptions, not questioning them, not wrestling with them. And what we want you to know, this is the thing that I want you to know, is that alternative choices are a beautiful thing. So even if they're incredibly rare, so
mm,
be rare, be unique. Think about things that really matter. Think about things that root you. Think about things that connect you to higher purpose and meaning and value. That we need to find those. And history has shown that there are a handful of categories where these can commonly occur that we think we might be losing in our modern world.
yeah, and I would say to see to see the era you're in very clearly. There's a famous quote from Rudyard Kipling. Excuse me. He says, "What should they know of England who only England know?" Which means people who have never left a country actually know the country not as well or clearly as people who have left
Because
and
there's no
seen the world.
contrast. Yeah, there's no,
Exactly.
yeah.
And in the contrast, you actually see your origins more clearly. So the way people have described this is intellectual tourism. So in order to leave the country of your modern Western era, you read uh, philosophy from other times and places. So C.S. Lewis talks about this of reading the older books and the classic books as the sea breeze of the centuries blowing through our minds, and it's the only way to really see modernism. And G.K. Chesterton talks about the democracy of the dead, which is,
I love that phrase.
me too, yeah, super powerful, which is basically the vote that our ancestors and the wisdom of our ancestors should have on what we believe and do and say.
Now, that's a phrase that you introduced in the 1024 this week. And so it really, I let that sit in my imagination for a while to let my ancestors democratically vote on the way I'm living my life. Like, do I,
Yeah.
you know, that is a powerful thing to just imagine for a while. Like your great great grandfather.
Mm,
There's a book. It's a huge book. It's called the um, Discovery of the Self.
mm,
The Rise and Triumph of the Modern Self. That's the book. It's an academic book for grad school level education, but man, it's fascinating. And one of the things he says in there is our great great grandfathers would say, "What in the world are you talking about?"
mm,
When we talk about some things like, "Well, I might be a female, even though I'm in a male's body." And while you can argue that there was ignorance in those days, you could also argue there's wisdom to pay attention to their response to this. And so, putting your life in the context of a greater, bigger historical life and letting history cast votes on your thoughts, that's genius, man.
yeah. Yeah. And it just as a way again of realizing that the things that you believe here are actually nameable philosophies, not self-evident truths.
Yeah. And they didn't just emerge with us.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
They've been around a while. I think it was Ecclesiastes. There's nothing new under the sun. This stuff's been going on forever.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk the second quarter now, John. Let's pivot over. And the second quarter is about the high price of disembodiment. What does that mean to you, John? What get us started on this conversation? What's the big idea of this, and where does this conversation take us?
Yeah. So we're still in a prosperous nation. We've talked a lot about how that prosperity is aging with our population, that it
Mhm.
has not exactly been as
It's not passing down
prosperous.
like it has. Yeah.
Right. But still, today, mobility, wealth, and autonomy have brought prosperity, but also fragmentation. So we have the tough thing about what we're talking about is not being rooted has brought people flourishing investment portfolios and has brought them really fruitful retirement accounts,
Mhm.
beautiful summer homes, speed boats, amazing vacations. But the cost is much outweighs those things. The cost,
Assuming that you couldn't achieve those financial goals in one place, staying
yeah,
put.
you're right.
Yeah.
Moving for work, selling one home to kind of leapfrog up to the big house and leaving behind certain friends and family along the way.
Boy, changing whole neighborhoods, John. There's a study. Malcolm Gladwell, in his interviews about the tipping point, and then a return of the tipping point or revenge of the I forget what he called
Yeah,
it.
I think it might be revenge. I think
Uh,
I can't remember.
yeah, but he talks about this study of one community in a very high wealth state, a very high wealth area, and everybody in the high school is drippingly rich. They can have and learn and do everything possible, and they had an epidemic of suicides because
Whoa.
these kids were struggling to find meaning because there was no diversity in the school economically, socially, intellectually, and so everybody was the same, and so you couldn't pick your tribe.
Hmm.
There weren't freaks and bansies and athletes and academics.
Theater
Uh,
kids and
yeah, so it's really interesting how you can promote yourself, whereas versus if you stay in the same house for your whole life, the neighborhood's going to change. It's going to gentrify. People are going to get old with you, especially if they all stayed put. Can you imagine that?
man.
We've got a good friend right here in Parker. They've lived in the same neighborhood for 30 years. They moved uh, like seven houses down. So in the 30 years, and that whole street has lived there for 30 years, and
Wow.
they have one guy will open his garage and roll his mobile bar out there to the driveway, and it's margarita night, and everybody just starts showing up. Uh,
That's
they
fun.
they care for each other, shovel each other's sidewalks. It's amazing. That's the kind of thing we sacrifice when we say, "Well, I want to move up. I want to move up to the east side. I want to have a nicer home, whatever." So I hijacked you there for a minute, John. So
No, that's great. That's the aspiration. That's what you're talking about getting.
yeah.
We've lost with this, you know, uh, uh uprootedness. The costs of that have been shallow community, the exact
Mhm.
opposite of what you're talking about,
Right.
and the exact thing that Malcolm Gladwell is talking about in that excerpt: geographic rootlessness, loss of ancestral and cultural continuity.
Hmm.
That's a big one for me. Delayed adulthood, burnout, exhaustion, mental health
Hmm.
issues, isolation masked by productivity or even justified by productivity,
Hmm.
and consumption substituting for meaning. What you talked a little bit about earlier of being defined by what you choose to consume.
And we chase these things. We want to get the bigger house, the better house. One of the things I really admire about you and Lindsay is you have a very small starter home in a very affordable neighborhood, and it does not cross either of your minds to ever upgrade to get a bigger home.
Hmm.
And that is so rare. But when all these people do this and they're mobile and they're mobile and they're moving and they're moving, now we're in the world where people pull up to their driveway, open the remote garage door, pull in the garage door goes down, and they never speak to anybody. This is
Hmm.
kind of the neighborhood I'm in. Fortunately, there's a lot of dog owners. So
Yeah.
I meet people walking dogs, but I was thinking of, because we've been thinking about this topic so much, you think about all that you've lost not having communal beauty by longevity in one spot. So, for me, what I lost, the high price of disembodiment, has been the shortage of deep family roots for me and for you, all of my kids.
Mm,
If we had stayed in Texas, you would have been deeply connected to cousins. You have like 9 or 10 cousins that you barely know. If I lined them up, you couldn't name them.
mhm,
And they're in your age bracket and they're incredible humans. And you didn't get to know them and they didn't get to know you. And now the care of my mom in her older age, it's dependent on my brother and my older sister who live near her. So they're having to carry, shoulder that, which we all could have shouldered.
mm.
We split the economic load, but uh, what I've lost is that deeper sense of connection to these are our people. We have a mutual friend named Dallas, and he's lived his entire 70 years, in 10 square miles.
In one county, at least.
Yeah, one
Yeah.
county. And man, I'm so jealous for that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's incredible. That's, yeah. What I've lost, or the cost of this in my life has been that a bit of, yeah, cultural identitylessness. Especially one thing I'm kind of proud of is how long both sides of my family have been in America for. I don't really have like a grandma from Poland.
Mm,
I mean, we've been in America for a long time. I don't mind that about our story, but in our uprootedness, I have no cultural anchor there per
mm-hmm,
se.
mm-hmm,
But the real cost, even for myself, just to get you off the hook, in my own relationships, the cost of this has been, with relationships, realizing that I'm holding back with like friendships because I just
mm,
assume people are in and out. Like they're going to be the people I'm talking to are not going to live here for more than 5 years. So that doesn't mean if, like there's nothing I'm no secrets I'm keeping, but a lot of like why invest when this isn't gonna keep. So even if that were true, even if these people were to move on, that's not a rooted way to live for me.
mm-hmm.
That's not a very interdependent way to live. It's a very invulnerable, independent way to live.
And you make me realize, like, if you stay a Tenino beaver
Yeah.
for 30 years, and if you have children and you raise them to be Tenino beavers, that will be a beautiful thing, and it won't include any of your family members.
Hmm.
And that's a sad thing.
Yeah.
I hate that loss of that. So when you think about this, some things you could reflect on, like if you left town, if you moved, who would miss you? As a pastor, I have been in several places, and some of them for what I would consider long times because am so mobile. So 7.5 years in Frisco and 9.5 in Denver, then 13 in Washington, and now 2.5 more back in Denver. But the thing that I didn't factor in those relocations is who's going to miss me when
Mm.
I leave and who will I miss. And I would kind of compartmentalize that to make leaving easier. And then it wouldn't be till I was gone that I was like, oh man, I really do miss those relationships and the patterns of life that I had established.
Yeah. I love that. And there's the thing with your story, there's you would say of yourself that these moves were calls they were obedient responses to a call.
Yeah.
So the apostle Paul, he was uprooted. That's and he was called to be so, but it was more of a, he viewed it and we should view it as a cross to bear, not a necessary path to success.
Well, that's an interesting. Let's just unpack that for 1 second because I think this is really significant to help each of us figure out why we do what we do and discerning how that all works. So you take Paul, for example, you mentioned Paul the apostle. He said, I don't want to build on anyone else's work. I'm a pioneer. I
Mhm.
want to go where people haven't been. I want to advance the kingdom where it's not been started. This is his passion. And so consequently, the calling of apostle and being sent out to plant churches around the world, that fit his personality and his passions perfectly. Now compare that with my family calls me the family gypsy. I my mom, my siblings, they still say, "Yeah, you're the gypsy. You can't stay put. You just bounce all over the place."
Yeah.
And so I remember in considering whether I should consider moving again, I asked the kids, I asked Sue and you guys, is it possible that because what I had done is I did a timeline of my life because I when you factor in my life, I've as an adult, I've made disruptive changes every 4 to 7 years.
Mm.
And so it was in the middle of this 13-year stretch in Olympia where I was evaluating this. And I realized every 4 to 7 years, I had, from the time I was born, was a disruptive change. So that
Wild.
means change is normal to me. That's what
Yeah.
normal feels like. So I remember thinking about, is it time for a change? This was like in year 6 or year 7 in Olympia. We were there 13 years. So I asked Sue and I asked several of the kids, is it possible that because I have 4 to 7 year disruptions my entire life, that when God says, I've got a church in geographical spot B that is in chaos and needs a leader to bring help and pastor that, who should I send? Does he say, well, I'll send Jim because he's this is what he does. He moves every 4 to 7 years, or is this a dysfunction of my soul that I need to overcome? And
Mm.
everyone I asked that question to said, this is a dysfunction of your soul that you need to overcome. So I'm not sure I would say, I do think, John, I've been obedient to the call of God, but it's not that simple. It's also, I remember before we moved to Montana, I'd never been to Montana. And I said to Sue multiple times, I just want to live in Montana. And why? Well, because blue jeans, t-shirts. It's not the Bible Belt. It's mountains. It's the Wild West. I want to live in Montana, and I'd never been there. And oh, look, God called me to Montana. So are
Mm.
those related? How are they related? I think the unexamined life is where the danger is, and so having curiosity about why you do what you do, and is that the right thing to do, the best thing to do, and does God give you options? Blah 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 blah. So I think it's really significant to think deeply about that, uh, and wrestle with what part is God sovereignly calling you to something, and what part is you saying, "Hey God, send me somewhere new now."
Right. Which, well, it's just maybe there is no delineation because if you ask that and he says, okay, that's still not a bad thing, is it? I mean, you're still being obedient,
Yes, yes,
but you
but
are going to pay the price of that in uprootedness.
as are my kids and my wife, and that's the part that I wrestle with. I think that with very few exceptions, God says, I don't know, where do you want to live? I'll
Mm.
bless whatever you do if you do it with me and for me. So,
Meaning you could have stayed at that first church if you had wanted to.
absolutely. I was immature. I got my feelings hurt by the church board that I had put together, and I got offended. And so I couldn't recover. I was a punk kid, and I regret that my immaturity got the best of me. Um, so yeah, I think I definitely could have stayed there my whole life, and
Mm.
God would have put His kiss of favor on it. And I do wonder, could I have become the man I am today because I learned so much about manhood in Montana? And like you say, if all you know is London, do you really know London?
Mm.
Because you've never left London. Uh, so there are definitely advantages to relocating and moving around. We had this conversation with a group of men the other day, and they were saying, I think that uh, being highly mobile teaches you a lot of life skills because you have to meet new people all the time and go to new schools and all this stuff.
Mm.
But to me, there's a higher price to be paid than there are advantages to be won.
Sure. Yeah, I believe that. And those, I mean, yeah, as we've read, those are the high prices of uprootedness. And let's get out of there. Let's get on to our book recommendation, and let's start getting into the good life, talking about what that even looks like, the rooted good life.
Yeah, so we're going to reimagine the good life, and we're also then going to finish with, and this is the most exciting part to me, some really actionable ideas for you to process and start getting thinking about rooting your life deeper. These are very specific. You get a wide range of things to choose from. Stick around because you're really going to want that. So, John, you go first on your book, and I'll go second.
I chose a book I mentioned in the past and an author I might have brought up once or twice. This is Walter Benjamin at the Dairy Queen by Larry McMurtry. It's a collection of essays that he wrote inspired by a time where he was reading Walter Benjamin at the Dairy Queen in Archer City. Larry McMurtry moved around a lot, but he was literarily and otherwise obsessed with Archer City, Texas. He was born and raised on a ranch just outside of town. They eventually moved to a small town in the city while his dad continued to work on ranches.
Mm.
And so it's a lot of meditations on place, on oral tradition and oral storytellers, and how that's just dead and gone. Those people don't
Yeah.
exist anymore.
Yeah.
It's about living memory. He, at the time, he thought, and he had looked around, he thought he was the only mainstream writer with living memory of an actual pioneer. His grandparents settled the land of that ranch in Archer City. There was
Wow.
nobody before that. It was Cherokee land,
Wow.
and they settled it. And then it was that ranch. So this is a book about rootedness, and the cost of being uprooted. And it's just very fun. He's just a great dry writer, and it's a good size. I love books about that big. I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
So huge
I
recommendation.
I don't think we've had a single episode yet where you have not mentioned Larry McMurtry.
And if I do my job, we never will. Great writer.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right, your turn.
The book I'm going to recommend, I did not bring down to the podcasting basement in my house. So, John, you got to hold it up there. This is the book, The Beginning and End of Masculinity, an owner's manual written by John and I, two punks. And this is the first of five books we plan to write this year. And I got to tell you, I know we're tooting our own horns, and last episode was a no toot zone, but this is the best writing I've ever been a part of. Uh, I have reread it now multiple times. It edifies me. It speaks to me. It challenges me every single time. It's not big. What is it? 85 pages, John? Something like that. 85,
78.
78 pages. And but it is a journey through what we believe to be the design of God for masculinity. How to find a. It's really about the formation of a man, and if you can walk through intentional formation of who you are as a man, find your identity there. It's a powerful, powerful thing. You win, God wins, and the world is a better place. So I just that's all I'll say because we're selling our own book there, but I'm really, really proud of it, John.
Me too. Thank you. And yeah, if listeners, if you're interested, you can get an ebook version of that on our website, or it's on Amazon in Kindle and paperback formats for you if you
There we
prefer.
go. All right, quarter three, John. Reimagining the good life. The theme here is that if that a rooted, communal, generative life is a good life. An embodied life is not anti-success. It is a differently ordered success. So it's defining
Hmm.
success differently. So let's dive into some of those values, John, of what we're talking about here when we say to reimagine the good life.
Yeah. So the good life, as we're talking about it today, meaning rooted, connected,
Mm-hmm.
integrated.
Mm-hmm.
The good life values contribution over compensation, mutual submission over independence,
Mm-hmm.
presence over success, reputation or income, stewardship over extraction for consumption and convenience, stability over constant upward mobility, and legacy over lifestyle.
So pick one of those, John, that really jumps out at you. Which one of those would you say that really speaks to me or strikes a chord in your heart?
Yeah, I've already talked about it. Would be mutual submission over independence. That's for me the the most central misunderstanding of the American virtue system
Mm-hmm.
is that right there. And it's across both political parties. It's across all strata of race. It is a central problem. But I would say probably contribution over compensation.
Hmm.
And this is a realm, we talked in our labor episode and we talked in our money episode that people have different things they want out of life. Some guys just want to provide. They have uh, a work ethic as their one of their chief virtues.
Yeah.
So their pitfall can be lack of presence at home, and it can be lack of direction at home because they're
Hmm.
just trusting the home and their spouse to take care of the resources they provide.
Or they come home when they are home, they're energy depleted and
Mm-hmm.
don't have the energy to offer leadership at home.
Yeah. But those guys are very much not me. So when I say this, when I say contribution over compensation, I'm talking about me and my pitfalls. Me, what I mean by this is the character of my work matters so much more to me than the income, and I'm in a privileged position to say that. My wife makes more money than I do,
Hmm.
working for the state government. Biggest piggy bank there ever was. So that's a very nice thing for me to be able to say. But I have very specific things I want to do and work I want to do, and it matters. If I ended my life on my deathbed, you imagine that scenario. What do you regret? If I didn't do these things, I would be ripped up with regret.
Hmm.
And the pitfalls of that character of me are laziness and lack of uh, drive or lack of practicality.
Hmm.
Things like that. It has its own pitfalls.
So what I hear you say is that for you to steward the talents, the passions, the gifts you have, the kind of work you want to do, the kind of marriage you want to have, the lifestyle you want to have communally with your family, that all of those trump income to you,
Yeah.
and you're willing to live on whatever the limits of that income are to have what that is.
Yeah.
So that is, stewarding that over growing your income at any price.
Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah, I think for me the stability over constant mobility. Um, when Sue and I had been married 14 years, we had lived at 14 different addresses, and
Oof.
and we lived at one of them for 3 years.
Oh
So
my word.
we moved a ton. Now, a lot of that when we were newlyweds, and there was a glut of apartments in the Dallas area. So we would sign a 6 month lease, get the first month free, and then there would be, hey, first month free if you sign another lease at a different place. So I'd move to get a free month of housing because I didn't care. I was fitting a little U-Haul trailer. So Sue hated it, but I was like, hey, I'm cashing in on this and get brand new apartments and all that stuff. But I really grieve the loss of stability
Mm.
of place. So, and I wasn't chasing upward mobility. We left a church we had planted, pastored 7.5 years, to downsize in Montana to a little church that was 150 years old and had 100 people in it. So, and a significant pay drop. So it
That
wasn't
church is
about,
150 years old.
yeah,
That's a rooted church. That's
yeah,
incredible. In
yeah,
a
it
in
was.
Montana.
Yeah, two sisters started it in a bar in downtown Deer Lodge.
Oh my word.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what that's
And
amazing.
now that's rootedness, that
Yeah.
church. Yeah. Yeah. So I think, you know, uh, what we're talking about is for giving you an invitation to reimagine the good life for you. Uh, how do you belong where you belong?
Mm.
And how do you use resources that strengthen and contribute to the community that you're in? Do you have an obligation to participate in community? You mentioned, John, the virtues of our culture in every direction. You are weak if you need somebody to help you. Everybody should carry their own load. We don't need to help each other. Shame on you that you didn't manage yourself better, and now you need us to help you. Why do you keep having kids when they are so expensive, and now you can't afford? And so people have to scholarship your kids to something because you can't pay the bill.
Well, and it bleeds into our morality when we say that impending on my personal freedoms is the only sin. So if whatever you're
Mhm.
doing, if it doesn't hurt anybody, if it doesn't limit anybody else from doing their thing,
Knock yourself out.
yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. But as soon as you start to say this involves you, that what
Yeah.
you do involves me, and what I do involves you, even by proxy, and therefore morality matters, even if there's no victim, that is anti-American.
And is that true? I mean, is that accurate? And how do you feel about that personally, listener? When you think about that, how do you become known? We're lonely. We don't know our neighbors. We don't have friendships that span decades. And so who knows you? And how could you become known? And is that a worthy value to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would ask, so here, I would have you ask yourself some questions. Again, before we're about to move on to actionable shifts. So to kind of prime the pump for that when you're imagining the good life, ask yourself these kinds of questions. What would it mean for you to be rooted instead of upwardly mobile? And like you're looking forward. So, Dad, you're a lot of this episode you've been looking back. It's been super
Mhm.
helpful for me, for you with the gift of hindsight to see how this uprootedness worked in your life for good and for
Sure.
bad. So if young men listening or people here thinking about a young man in their life, looking forward, what is it when you're looking down, the foggy road of your life? What would it look like to be rooted instead of upwardly mobile? What would it look like if your retirement wasn't escape but redirection? If it
Hmm.
wasn't detaching from the workforce and from your responsibilities and your loved ones and going to be a total free agent and have fun,
Hmm.
but redirecting your efforts and resources into your community and family? What would it look like if your home became infrastructure for your community?
Mm.
So if it became a meeting place, its own third space, your neighbor with the margarita bar that he rolls out, that's
Yeah.
that's an incredible image. I've
Yeah.
never seen something like that in my life.
Yeah, and it happens a lot in their neighborhood. And there's a book called "The Gospel Comes with a House Key," and this gal says that everyone on her street, when a new person buys a house in the street, she walks down and gives them a key to her house. And
Oh my word.
she says, my house is your house, and if you need anything, we're here. We care about our street, and we're here to invest in and support our street. So whatever you need, let us know. Uh, that's a foreign concept in
Yeah,
in our world.
that's a
Uh,
hugely vulnerable move.
It really is. Stanley, I don't know how you pronounce his last name. Hauerwas, how
I have no
who
idea.
Hurvas. Uh, I don't know how you say it, but he said we've been conditioned to think that freedom is the absence of restraint, but true freedom is the presence of the good. And I
Mm,
think this might be the way I would sum up uh, bringing good, experiencing good, participating in good. That really is, to me, the summation of this. We haven't talked about retirement much yet, John, but we've talked about it a lot off this recording. When the modern idea of retirement is that I'm going to bust my butt for 4 decades, and then I'm going to retire and I'm going to really live.
mhm.
That's when you hear that phrase, I'm going to really live. I'm going to
Yeah,
travel, I'm going to play golf, I'm going to sit on the beach, I'm going to do my thing because I've earned it after all these years, which reveals that we view work as a necessary evil that's only there to get me to that point.
totally.
And man, your work, your vocation is so much more powerful and contributed to whatever that.
Uh, I don't know. No, yeah, the two writers trying to
What?
figure out how
Yeah,
to use this
we
word.
don't even have a word for that. But there's so much more depth to be had in your vocation and the people you work with and the money you make and what it does and contributing to the economy and changing a community and employing people. There's just so much beauty in all of that. And instead we're living for retirement. And what if retirement and self-indulgence for the last 25 years of your life isn't the goal anyway? What if there's a deeper community to be had and deeper meaning to be had and more contribution that could come from your life savings to help elevate your children, your grandchildren to be economically viable instead of them having to wait till they're 45 and you die?
Yeah. This last thing I'll say before the fourth quarter, we have a lifelong mutual friend who owned his own business for decades,
Hmm.
and he was able to sell the business in a way that was really honoring to his employees, and that really was just wise business. But the way he ran that whole company, it was rooted,
Yeah.
and it was, through multiple recessions, crazy ups and downs, through COVID at the end. And his main concern was, how do I maintain really radical generosity
Hmm.
with the money this business makes, and how do I maintain the livelihood of my men? And I mean, that's just a tease. Hopefully, we'll have a whole episode about this guy's life, because it is exactly what we're talking about here, as far
Yeah.
as the intersection between a rooted life and the American economy. Um, but
And,
but it's really exactly what we're talking about.
and consequently, his average employee had been with him 2 or 3 decades.
Yeah, in I mean, as of the 2020s, like, that was
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
Okay, we're in small changes, real roots. This quarter is practical and hopeful. We're going to the fourth quarter now, and we're gonna give you. I don't know how many steps we have here, John.
We've
Uh,
got
four, five,
five.
five. So we're gonna give you, and I'll do one, you do one. Let's do that, and we're gonna rapid fire these so that we just honor your time. But these are ways that you could start making some small changes that would root your life deeper. So, number one, reorder one financial decision. For example, could you cap your lifestyle inflation? So,
Mm,
as my income goes up, my lifestyle goes up. Could you say, no, I'm going to have my income go up, my lifestyle stay the same, or go up very little, so that I can manage my lifestyle inflation and have discretionary funds to do something really creative with in terms of generosity, community development, resources for people in your church family who have need, uh, etc. Another idea is to redirect money towards shared meals, hospitality, local investment. So the big idea first is to reorder one financial decision. Make one financial decision that uses your money in a different way, pointing it toward a different kind of goodness.
I love that. Step two would be committing to place. Pause before you take your next move, and consider again and interrogate the notion that this is necessary for good, that this is necessary for your own growth,
Mm-hmm.
that growth for its own sake is good. Committing to place would include investing in neighbors. This is tough. This was in some ways easier when I lived in an apartment. We haven't talked a lot about how an apartment might restrict these commitments, but in some ways, I knew my neighbors better there than in my
Mm-hmm.
neighborhood. But invest,
Proximity, I mean, you got close space. So
yeah,
proximity increases connection.
true. So this would just be knowing their names. Uh, ac- Helpful practices for this is, like you said, you mentioned your dog. The dog owners of the neighborhood
Mm-hmm.
unite,
Mm-hmm.
but walks without a dog also do this.
Yeah.
And you'll meet the chattier ones first, because they'll introduce themselves to you, in my experience. And the ones that don't want to be met normally won't be met, and that's okay. But this is as so far as it relies on you. Lastly, for committing to place would be join something local that requires your presence. So something where if you are sick or don't feel like going and you don't go, you're going to get a text message. And they say, "Hey, you all right? Where were you?" Something where your presence is required and noticed, and that probably takes something from you in the realm of attention or preparation throughout the week.
Mm-hmm.
This could be a Bible study, a community group, a community orchestra, or a
Mm-hmm.
choir. Lindsay
Mm-hmm.
performed one of those over Christmas. Things like that.
Yeah. Or service projects, nonprofit organizations. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay. Number three, redefine work. Ask yourself, who benefits from my labor? Identify who receives benefit from the work that you do.
Mm,
Your brother John is an auto mechanic, and sometimes he feels like he has a low status, a low glory kind of job. And I say all the time, man, I thank God when you make my car operate right. I blew a head gasket in my Jeep. He changed that head gasket in our garage and saved me tons of money. Who benefits from my labor? Identify them and do even more for them, like bring
mm,
more value. Seek contribution, not just compensation. So, what if you brought to your work environment, how do I help the entire organization flourish, not just grow my income? What if the mission of the organization or the success or impact of the organization was part of my shared value? What if I approached this like an owner and brought all the value I could? So think differently about work.
I love that. Step four would be practicing rhythms of rootedness. That includes weekly shared meals, phone free evenings, serving alongside others, and intergenerational friendships. So these, what's the word? How would I say this? Ex- Explicit meaning you speak it, commitments to these things. So
Mhm.
it's something that we seem afraid of with modern friendships, but saying, hey, do you want to do this once a week or once a month? What happens with me is you, especially in church, you see someone in the lobby, you go, man, we haven't had a coffee in a while. Let's catch up. Yeah, let's catch up next week. Hey, we got to get that coffee. Yeah, we got to get that coffee next
My
week.
people will
Hey,
call
and
your
then,
people.
yeah, and then it's a year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you name the practice, you say, hey, this is important to me. I would like to make this a regular thing. So we have the same couple over for dinner almost once a week. And that's part of this rhythm of embodiment. Phone free evenings is a huge one. And that goes back to environment design we've talked a lot about, but designing
Mhm.
your home around a rhythm of rootedness as far as detaching from technology.
Yeah.
We haven't mentioned in this episode, but it's a big part of the 10-4 this week of that technology is a disembodied organism, digital technology, social media. Serving
But it
alongside
feels,
others.
but it can feel communal. So it's a fake
Yes.
community because I think the language in the 1024 is you think you're eating regular food and then you wonder why you're starving.
Yeah, because the facsimile is so good.
Yeah.
Serving alongside others, another huge advocacy for church. A lot of modern day Christians still won't go to church, or they'll claim the organized religion is bad. Uh, uh, you can't love a man without loving his wife. You gotta go to church if you're a Christian. And this is a great opportunity to serve alongside others. You don't have to do the same church. Go if there's toxic people, if you've been hurt there, you feel free to move around. And then intergenerational friendships. That man we talked about, who was a great rooted business owner, I have coffee with him every single Thursday. I've had coffee with him once a week for 15 years.
Man, that's
And
incredible, isn't it?
except for college, when I was in college, so knock
Yeah.
3 years off of that. But it's one of the most life giving relationships I've had.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Okay. The last one is think about your legacy. Um, think about what you want out of your legacy. Think about, and this points to your retirement. Should you prepare financially? Absolutely, you should. But what do you want to see happen there? And instead of asking, how much can I accumulate and what adventures await me when I finally have both time and money to do them,
Mm.
ask, what goodness will remain because I lived here? What legacy would I leave behind? What impact can I make on the people that gather around me? And this points definitely to intergenerational because part of that question can be, how can I feed and encourage the flourishing of the generation behind me? One of the values that has become deep in my thinking is that every generation has an obligation to the others. And that's
Mm.
an idea that's kind of foreign to the catechism of American culture. Every generation has obligation to the others. So young generations owe respect and they owe honor, and older generations owe contribution and investment. And
Well, that's back to the democracy of the dead, is realizing what you might owe the generation before you, because ideally they were thinking about what they owed you when they lived.
yeah, yeah. So embodied life begins not with, being a rooted person does not begin with this revolution, but it begins with one rooted decision at a time that gets lived out in real time. So that's our that's our final encouragement to you is pick something, pick some way to root yourself deeper into your geographical place, into economic mission and vision, not just abundance.
Mm.
Um, Community, relationships, sacrifice, investment, adding value. Uh, think about those things and make some decisions that move you toward that.
Yeah, you can start this week for sure. And I'm going to start I'm realizing a lot of this, and maybe this is my learning style, but it's more helpful to see. So I'm going to start uploading a lot of these outlines into the description of the YouTube upload.
Oh, that's a
So
great idea.
if you're listening to this and you thought, what were those five again? You didn't want to have to roll it back, play it at halftime speed, and hear us talking slow motion. We'll have it in the description, and hopefully that's helpful for you guys.
Yeah. All right. Hey, we so appreciate you. Pass this on to a friend. Man, help us. We're on a mission to get to 500 subscribers in the next 90 days. So help us do that if you don't mind. If we're a contribution to your world, pass it on to a friend and encourage them to subscribe. It's totally free. We just want to help more men, as many men as possible. And don't forget the last Thursday night of March, we will have our online town hall community again for men to hang out together for an hour and a half, hour 15. And we'd love you to be a part of that. So mark your calendar for that last Thursday in March.
Thank you guys. And this conversation has a lot of its roots in that hangout from the February, just last week.
Yeah.
So it's huge. It's been a huge blessing just for us personally, and we'd love to see you there.